Breaking the body, stirring the breath. The punishment began at dawn, and dawn in the sect was never merciful. The iron clang of the gong reverberated through the courtyards like a hammer striking stone, waking every disciple whether their bodies begged for rest or not. Liang rose from his narrow bed with movements that scraped like rusted hinges. His ribs still throbbed from Zhaoran's fists, his knuckles were raw, and his thighs trembled with the memory of yesterday's stances. Even so, Instructor Cai's decree had left no space for excuses. Double drills. A week. The platform where they trained was a circle of stone etched with faint spirals, slick with mist that gathered between the grooves. Liang arrived to find disciples already filing in, their murmurs hushed but not silent. Every glance toward him carried the weight of yesterday's duel. Yet it was he and Zhaoran whom Cai pulled forward, their punishment plain for all to see. Cai's gaze was unyielding, carved from the same stone as the platform. His staff tapped once against the ground. You will not leave this ground until sweat has scoured the arrogance from your hearts, Cai declared. Stances. Begin. The words brooked no argument. Liang lowered himself into the horse stance, thighs spreading wide, knees bent, back straight. Pain flared instantly, but Cai's presence pressed heavier than any discomfort. Zhaoran dropped into the same posture with a hiss between his teeth, his eyes already flashing sideways as though Liang's endurance was an insult hurled across the space between them. The sun climbed. The mist dissolved into bright air. Sweat poured down Liang's back until his robe clung to his skin like a second weight. His legs shook, quivering with strain, but he forced breath into the ember at his core. Inhale, guide, exhale, steady. Pain became duller, not gone but reshaped into something he could bear. The words from the scroll he had studied came back as though written in the air itself. The sea beneath the navel, where chi gathers. Breathe into the sea, and it shall grow. Hours passed. When one stance ended, Cai shifted them into another, each designed to grind the body until thought itself frayed. Feet rooted wide, arms extended until the shoulders screamed. Palms flat, breath controlled, backs rigid. Every time Liang faltered, the crack of Cai's staff on stone snapped him back to stillness. Every time Zhao wavered, his jaw tightened and his pride forced him lower. By midday, most disciples not under punishment had been dismissed. Only Liang and Zhao remained, shadows lengthening across the platform as the sun burned high. Their robes were soaked through, their faces pale, yet still Cai held them. Sweat slicked the stone beneath their feet, blurring the spirals beneath them until they seemed like rivers. Liang's vision blurred, the world swimming with heat, but he drew another breath, forced it deep, and felt the ember glow faintly brighter in his dantian. Zhaoran's breath rasped, loud as a bellows. His lips curled, his glare sharper each time Cai's gaze lingered even briefly on Liang. The punishment was supposed to scour arrogance, yet for Zhao it seemed to carve resentment deeper. When at last the sun dipped and the first shadows of evening stretched long, Cai raised his staff. Enough. The word fell like water into a desert. Liang collapsed to his knees, gasping. His robe clung to him, sweat pooling on the stone. Zhao swayed but refused to fall, his back rigid, his breath ragged. He looked like a man holding up a wall about to crush him, but pride alone kept him standing. Cai's eyes passed over both boys. His expression was unreadable, but the silence after his inspection pressed heavier than words. Good, he said at last. Pain teaches where pride cannot. Return at dawn. The drills continue. The staff tapped once as he turned away, his steps measured, leaving behind the two disciples broken by exhaustion but unwilling to admit it. That night Liang could barely lift his arms to eat the thin bowl of rice left in the outer quarters mess. Each movement lit new colors of bruise beneath his skin. Purple deepened to black, the ache settling into bone. But beneath that agony something else stirred. He returned to his narrow room and sat cross-legged despite the screaming of his thighs. When he closed his eyes and guided breath downward, the ember pulsed. Slowly, it expanded. Like a drop of ink spreading through clear water, it rippled outward. Warmth touched his limbs, faint but unmistakable. The pain dulled further, not erased but muffled under the rhythm of his breath. His heart quickened. The ember grew not in spite of suffering but because of it. The punishment had stripped away what comfort dulled progress. Every choice devours the rest. The whisper of the sparrow returned at the edges of his thoughts. Had he refused Zhao's challenge, none of this would have happened. He would have been spared the staff's scrutiny, spared the endless stances. But without them, would his ember have kindled so swiftly? Was pain the only path forward? The days repeated, each dawn striking like the edge of a blade. Gong, stance, sweat, collapse. Cai drove them harder than the rest, ignoring the way others looked on with pity or envy. Liang endured. Zhao endured too, but with teeth bared and fury leaking through every glare. By the third day, Liang noticed a rhythm in the ache. Pain peaked, dulled, returned, and each time his breath steadied faster. By the fourth, he could sink into the stance without trembling until the sun had risen past the courtyard's towers. By the fifth, the ember answered immediately, flaring when he guided air to it. That night, sitting in silence, something shifted. As Liang inhaled, the ember did not merely pulse. It flared. For a heartbeat, it became a spark leaping outward. He felt it trace a thread through his veins, warmth running along his arms and legs. His chest tightened as if bound by unseen cords, his vision swam, and sweat drenched his brow. Then it snapped back, leaving him gasping. But he knew. He had touched something beyond the ember, a flicker of chi moving through channels he had never before sensed. His heart pounded, both fear and exhilaration coursing together. This was the first step toward cultivation, not just breathing, not just imagining, but real chi flowing, however faintly. He slept little that night. His body trembled with fatigue, but his mind replayed the spark again and again. Each breath became an experiment, each meditation a search for that same thread of warmth. Morning came again, and with it Cai's sharp voice pulling them back into stances. Liang's legs felt carved from stone, heavy yet unyielding. He sank into position, his breath steady, his ember glowing faintly with each inhale. Across from him Zhaoran's eyes burned. His fists clenched, his chest rose and fell with uneven gasps. His pride had kept him upright through every punishment, but the ember had not yet ignited within him. No warmth flickered behind his glare. Only resentment, sharpened to a blade's edge, pointed at Liang. Liang felt the weight of that gaze, but he did not flinch. He guided breath into the ember, and the warmth answered him. Every choice devours the rest. He had chosen to endure, and now the path before him stretched darker, heavier, but undeniably forward. On the edge of the courtyard the silver-feathered sparrow perched atop a beam, feathers shimmering faintly in the morning light. Its black eyes watched without blinking. It did not whisper this time, but Liang felt the pulse of the spiral in his chest echo the stillness of that gaze. The bird needed no words. Its presence alone reminded him that every step he took closed countless others behind him. And so he held the stance, sweat dripping onto the stone, legs trembling but rooted. He endured while Zhaoran seated beside him, and the sparrow watched as the dawn stretched long shadows across the platform.